Continuing the Abuja conversation about the state of the city and its economy, the housing, the economy doing business and all of that here on Business Morning. Celestine Okeke, who is the lead partner at CEDI from our Abuja studios, and live here in Lagos, the headquarters of Channels Television. Oluwashina Olubu, who is the head of research at GDL Asset Management. Okay, so let's get this revise, tweak this a little bit. That's the breaking news that you heard earlier. Well, it's now all over the place. One of the chieftains of the ruling political party, Atiku Abubakar of the APC, says he's pondering his political future. That's the news out there. Just that correction I need to make here from the newsroom. He says he's pondering, he has exited the APC and pondering his political future. I just need to check what the meaning of the word pondering really is. That is, he's thinking very, very hard before he takes a decision. But he's exited. And as you can see, a part of his statement there, he says, quote, after due consultation with my God, okay, my family, yes, my supporters, and the Nigerian people whom I meet in all walks of life, I, Atiku Abubakar, Waziri Adamawa, hereby tender my resignation from the All Progressives Congress while I take time to ponder my future. Okay, Atiku Abubakar is tinkering his future. Let's look at the future of Nigeria's monetary policy and interest rate. And we heard just before the break from Celestine Okeke about the MSMEs, according to him, wants this money from the banks. They want credit at any rate they can get it, even at the current rate. Shina Olubu has a few comments on that very quickly. What do you consider? Do you think we have a dilemma here between the availability of funds for MSMEs or credit to the real sector and the rate at which this monies will be obtained?
But the truth of the matter is, there's no way the DFIs can, DFIs are BOI, they have rates around single digits. They cannot meet the needs of all SMEs. But not all SMEs will be able to meet their conditions. While I agree with Celestine that there are bottlenecks, I don't think it's entirely true to say that for a benchmark rate does not matter. The reason is because what is called benchmark means that every other thing around it just takes a cue from whatever benchmark is. If an SME operator is not able to get fund from a bank and is looking to get it from, say, an organized organization, so whoever is getting it from must be getting the fund from somewhere too. So the rate that's going on in the market, whether the bank or something, I think still matters because every other rate takes a cue from the benchmark rate. If today the benchmark rate drops from 14% to 12%, you see adjustment across the board. I mean, be it at individual level or corporate level, even at individual levels. Why should I give you money as social rate when I could actually place it with maybe government and then get some money?
Lend money to the government. Okay, well, we got some of our viewers making comments about this very interesting two-way traffic conversation today. Ipemosa says, well, he says he agrees that signaling is important from the central bank, and folks believe that, yes, there was a signaling that we saw on November the 21st. But it's also talking about the towns and cities around Abuja are largely agrarian. So how is Abuja tapping into this resource from Ipemosa? Let's return to you, Celestine, back in Abuja. This is your city, your life, your business, and your economy. And let's talk about the mushrooming. And that's my qualification. I see a number of housing estates that cost several dozens of millions of naira unoccupied. And I was there a few days ago, and they are still hanging in there without occupancy. Who owns this building? What should we do about them?
So, but in response to that, I think we need to understand something that is happening not only in the housing sector, but several other sectors in Nigeria. When we want to craft an intervention to address a particular issue, we don't do needs assessment, which means to say we don't try to even understand who we're trying to solve these challenges for, what are their own demands, so that we can come down together and sit on the table and agree on how best we can intervene for them. So in the housing sector here, for quite a number of years, they talked about mass housing, mass housing, mass housing. At the FCT administration, they have a department managing mass housing in the FCT. But one link was taken out in the entire process of the discussion, which is talking to people who need these houses. Civil servants constitute at least 50% of the workforce in the FCT here, either they're working at the ministry, department, or agency levels. There was no conversation around who needs these houses, what do you need as a house, is it a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom? What is your present salary and what are you presently earning as salary? What part of it is not encumbered, which means what part of it is not being used to service an existing loan? So we can now say, okay, look, we need to build 100 1-bedroom houses, 500 2-bedroom houses, 1,000 3-bedroom houses for this particular off-takers who have indicated their interest and are able to take up these houses when built. So we built houses that in most instances are duplexes. If they are not duplexes, they are 3-bedroom building. In fact, for most of the development plans approved in the FCT here, they will tell you it has to be a 3-bedroom, it has to be a duplex. And the question is, who are you designing these houses for? So when people end up building these duplexes, quite a good number of them on the Kuba Expressway, on the airport road, in the Lokogoma area, in the Apo district, you find these big, good houses. People are not able to occupy the houses because at the point when you were designing the building and costing, you didn't even talk to me who you were hoping will come and buy the properties. So when you finish building and you ask me to come buy a duplex for, say, 50, 60 million, I just look at the whole thing. How much am I earning? And this thing has a multiplier effect on the economy in the FCT here and even outside, because the bulk of the civil servants we have in the FCT here come from satellite towns like Maraba, Onyanya, Kari, even up to near Kefi in Nasarawa State. And because there's always a traffic jam coming into town on work days, most of them get to office as late as 9, 10 a.m. It takes them another 30, 40 minutes to settle down in office. We're hitting 11 a.m. already. And they work for less than 1, 2, 3 hours. They're rushing to leave their offices before traffic begins to build up again. And this has been happening for several years in the FCT. And we have not sat down to say, how do we address these challenges? Productivity of the civil servants is on a very low level in the FCT. Only a few of them can afford to live in Kuba where there is less traffic or Lugbe. The bulk of them stay in very far places and they battle with traffic on a daily basis, and they get to office almost exhausted. They take 1 hour to settle in. In less than 2, 3 hours, they are struggling to go back home again. So we need to go back and say, look, who do we need to build houses for in the FCT? The bulk of them being civil servants. Then what do we need to do to make sure that whenever we build this mass housing, they are able to afford the mass housing? Now, one other thing again is, I do understand that the master plan did not even envisage for every agency being in the city center. But what we have today is that almost all the agencies, over 80%, are situated in the city center. So everybody is struggling to come into the city center on a daily basis. Whereas the way you have JAMB and the law school out of the city center, we can move some of these agencies far from the city center so that there won't be so much rush to get into the city center. The economy here is suffering. And remember, the economy is also tied to government activities. And when this government activity, which is being managed by civil servants, is suffering because they have to spend so much time and so much resources to come into the city center. Sometimes you have a file, they say, oh, your file is not being treated because the guy has not come to office. The guy comes to office, oh, the other man has left the office. A week after, a letter is still on one desk. So we need to redefine who needs houses in the FCT, how can they get the houses, and how do we intervene to give them houses in the FCT?